please pronounce your name correctly for me?
Okay, so my name is Pia Eikaas, and it kind of sounds Greek, Eikaas,
It does.
But it's from the west of Norway. It's from a small hamlet in Jølstad.
Sure. Greek,
Yeah.
Norwegian, whatever.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. All right. So now you work in various different disciplines throughout the arts, but currently you're also working on a project for a public arts program, which is a sort of interest in this conversation. So what is this project and how did you get involved in it?
So the project that I'm working on with Mesen, which is like a public art project now in Oslo S, temporary one, it's called Skeiv Kopp, and it started in Kristiansand last year. So it's like a collective with me and another artist called Jo Abusland, and then Christine from Mesen.
I'm sorry, it's me and you?
It's me and you. Sorry. Okay, so it's me, Pia Eikaas, Jo Abusland, and Christine Wessel from Mesen. We started this project called Skeiv Kopp, which is basically making ceramic cups that we dedicate to queer icons or like queer people that we like. And we like them not because they're queer, but because they are like great thinkers, artists, and just like brilliant people. So it's like, we make these ceramic cups based on a lot of research, and we write these texts, and we also have like these photographs of the cups. And that's something we did in Kristiansand last year, and we made like 400 cups dedicated to 40 different like queer role models. This is like a bad word for me, but like queer icons, it's better, because I think role model is problematic. But
why is role model problematic?
Because it kind of sets this standard or idea of someone having to be perfect in all respects. And I don't know, maybe like this is just how I think about the word. So I think icon is better, or just like brilliant queer people that we want to celebrate. But we made 400 cups dedicated to 40 different queer brilliant people.
Just to be clear, to try and give a visualization to the listeners, how do you dedicate a cup?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So we spent a lot of time researching each of these people, and like a lot of them, for me, like a lot of them were already people that were important to me in my practice, like James Baldwin, Audre Lorde, and so on. And so we use like the kind of research to make a cup, and then we have like the color, the shape. So it could just be something like, did they like to drink wine? Then we make like a ceramic cup that looks a bit like a wine cup, for example, and there could be text on it that we kind of get into the cup, and that could be from one of their texts or whatever. So we spend a lot of time on each of the cups, or like to have some kind of, not representation, but just like some hints to that person, and then we have their name also etched into it. So that's how we do it.
Isn't 2023 like it's the year of something in the arts that's relevant to like queer interests, isn't it?
2022 this year.
Oh, is it 2022?
It's like Skeivs kulturer, like queer culture year in Norway, because it's like 50 years since they got rid of the law criminalizing sex between men.
But sex between women had no law?
Yeah, because they don't care about women. We're not even important enough to be like considered in a law. Because there's like, women, do they have sexuality? I don't think so. Like, so when two women are together, it's just like, they're just, we can't even, because men make these laws, right? So they're like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, women, yeah. So the women were never included, but like so
technically it was legal
for women to have
sexual relations, because it wasn't illegal.
Well, technically, I mean, there's probably some law somewhere that would have given like the government the chance to incriminate women as well, but this particular law was just between men. And one of the like queer icons that we dedicated a cup to is Kim Friele. And she was like an activist working really hard she was the first openly gay person in Norway, and she was like one of the four women to work against this law. And basically she's she's the reason why we don't have this law anymore, because of her work. Yeah.
All right. I've had previous conversations with other Norwegian artists, queer Norwegian artists to be specific, about this year of, I'm not even sure how to phrase it, like year of queer art. Like
it's like
queer culture?
Queer culture year.
Queer culture year?
Yeah, like directly translated. Yeah.
How do you feel about that? The fact that there is, and they felt should be, a year dedicated to queer art culture.
Well, I think it's kind of, for me it's like kind of double. It's like, it's really amazing that there's so much money and awareness on this, and awareness that it's only 50 years since, you could get you could get like incriminated by just being gay, or like a gay man. But then
gay women's fine.
Gay women's fine,
yeah.
Or like that doesn't even exist, so we're not gonna talk about that. But and all like this whole like, so it's kind of it's good in one way, and then there's also like, our project was last year because it came from like Kristiansand, which is still like super homophobic, small Christian conservative town where I grew up, and where my partner in this project, you also grew up, and we were there I was there because of Corona, kind of in between Copenhagen and Oslo. And we did this project because we wanted the city to be more open. But we did it last year because it was like, okay, we need to do this. And then we have done like, I think maybe like 50 workshops for like teenagers in the city, like creating awareness on like these issues of like the queer history in Norway, and like all these amazing people that lived and how they have been treated. Like we talked about Alan Turing and, a lot of people. So we tried to create more awareness. And then
that name I know.
That name, yeah. And Tove Jansson, there's so many amazing people. Virginia Woolf, there's so many great people.
Virginia Woolf, I know.
Yeah. So many great people who were like doing all these amazing things. And they were also queer. And then some of them, especially men, like with Alan Turing, he basically saved Europe, and he saved so many lives. And then he was like chemically castrated by the government because he was gay. It's like, it's so insane. And people don't know this. And it's like, people need to know this.
That whole chemical castration thing, that's within our lifetime. Like, there are still people alive that either had that done to them or, well, let's say could have had that done to them. Like, that's ridiculous that humanity was still at that place within my lifetime.
Yeah, right. And like my friend you that I work with, he's like he's a trans guy. When he started transitioning like a few years ago, he got the diagnosis that he was mentally ill, because trans people were still getting that like just 5 years ago or something. And also on the day, there was this marking. Sorry, now it's becoming like a queer pod. But on the day that the Norwegian government issued like an apology to how they have treated like gay people in Norway, they also reversed a lot of steps towards the trans community. They put all these like processes, like treatments on hold, like getting testosterone and getting like these evaluations and stuff. So we're like joking, like in 50 years they're going to do the same for trans people. They're going to have to, the government have to like come with a official apology. I hope it's earlier, but that's seems to be the pace that things are going in. So, but back to the project, like in here in Oslo S.
And back to you and your art, yes.
Yeah. So the project here in Oslo S is like, that's part of Mecen's project Kunstreisen. We have all the photographs of the cups.
Okay, but hold on one second. Let's go back a step, because a lot of listeners aren't from this region. Oslo S.
Oslo S, the central station in Oslo.
There we go.
The international transport hub that 90,000 people a day go through.
It's the train station, the central train station. Yeah, so because the airplanes don't land there. Right?
No.
So, it's a train station.
That could be funny if there's like helicopters. Or...
Well, it's possible helicopters land there. Helicopters can land anywhere.
Yeah. So that's the next step in Norway. People are getting so rich. We're going to have like helipad in Oslo S.
You're assuming that it's not already there.
Yeah, because I've been there so much, so I haven't seen it. So
okay. I
don't think it's there, but yeah.
But you're not of the class that would know where it is.
That's true. I'm a working class kid. No, I'm middle class probably, something like that. But yeah.
All right, let's take a step back. I generally also skipped over my entire sort of like, so how did you become an artist? Were your parents creative, some schooling, some life experience? Like what led you down the path to even come to being an artist?
So, I mean, it has nothing to do with my family. My dad's an engineer, worked in the oil industry for like many, many years. And I mean, I think it was just like... probably growing up in a conservative Christian town, it was everything felt like off in all senses. And then I started finding like artists, music, literature that kind of opened up a whole new world to me. And I was like, how do you like, how is it possible to live differently? How can we organize things differently? Why is it like this? So all these questions and curiosity, I think, was what led me to become an artist.
When you say conservative Christian, could you be more specific about what that means? I ask specifically because my father's a priest.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Very liberal, though. Don't judge.
No. I think, I mean, I don't have any problems with religion or Christianity. It's just like...
I do.
Yeah, but you know, but this, I think it's also religion is also culture. So I think religion also is like in the symbiosis with the culture it's in.
Well, and politics often.
And politics, yeah. But in Kristiansand, it's like there is this strand of really brilliant, radical people who are amazing and has like a long history of having like a good education, like Katedralskole and stuff. But it's just like there's a lot of religious sects, a lot of people who organize in small religious sects, and they have a lot of power. So the culture in the city is very conservative, and there's a lot of money, like a lot of rich Christian people who have control of what's going on in the city, and yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. Since I got to Norway, that I have heard the word sect more often than I have in decades.
Yeah.
Because in America, generally, when you use the word sect, it means like a cult.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's not what you mean by it, I hope.
Well, it's not a cult. I mean, it is. Well, maybe I'm just, this is probably the nuances in the language for me,
Absolutely.
Which is like, because English is not my first language, but I mean, it's a lot of people organizing in private churches, and these churches are often very closed.
No, don't get me wrong.
And there's loads of them.
In religious terms, sect is the correct terminology.
Yeah.
Like, so like from religion, you are 100% right.
Okay. It's just...
But in colloquial conversation, sect is generally like a cult.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, since my dad is a priest, like I understand sect is the right way to say it.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so...
That's interesting.
It's just funny that but I never hear the word sect.
No.
It's just not used very often until I got to Norway.
Until you got to Norway, yeah. That's funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we have them here, and especially in the south. I mean, there's still... Yeah, there's so many things about that is like, I don't know where to begin talking about my hometown, but I think it's a place, if you don't fit in, then you are very on the outside, so you have to create your own kind of culture in a way. And I think that happened for me and a lot of my friends who grew up there, who are like really amazing.
That's called being a teenager.
Yeah, I know, but this is just, I think it's just like more extreme, because it's like more resistance.
Well, it's also a small town.
A small town.
Yeah. I mean, being a teenager in a small town is not easy.
Yeah.
I have no personal experience at it, but I've heard stories.
Yeah, you heard stories because you grew up in
Washington, D.C.
Oh, okay. So, congratulations. That sounds really nice. That's like a liberal city, no? Maybe I don't know anything about...
I always love outsiders' perspective of the United States. It's the hub of politics.
Yeah.
So there is an equal amount of liberals as well as conservatives.
Yeah.
So it just depends on who's in power those 4 years.
Yeah.
Because basically, like when there's a Republican or conservative president, then a lot of Republicans and conservatives move into town, and then when there's a Democratic president, a lot of Democrats move in. So you have both, depending on the year.
Yeah, that's really interesting. There's like waves of like shifts in the city.
Every 4 years.
Wow. But at least there's a lot of discussions and awareness. I would hope. So
You would hope,
that's a good
wouldn't
place.
you?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, not really. No,
No.
it's more just bickering and fighting and disagreeing and then trying to find some compromise, but they generally fail at that too. I mean, it's American politics. Come on. Anyways, back to you. So you said that you didn't even get to where you went to schooling
So
in your background.
Yeah, so, well, I moved from Kristiansand when I was 18, moved to Denmark, studied photography for a year at Fata Morgana, which is like a really nice school in Denmark, in Copenhagen. And then I started working for a big newspaper, like a big financial newspaper, as a photographer. And I did that, and I was like taking photos of all these rich people and directors and stuff. And I was like, and you know, doing like 3-4 jobs like that every day. I'm a bit like, well, this isn't what I signed up for. I'm an artist, and we visited this art collector because I was lucky enough to, because they have like had this segment on art collectors. And when I was at his house, I was like, okay, I'm gonna quit this job. And then for some reason, I decided to move to Beijing.
As one does.
As
yes.
one does, yeah. Because I was like still kind of like rebellious in my mind, and I was like, I want to deconstruct everything I know about the world. So I'm going to go to Beijing. I'm going to study Chinese. It's like the language that's the furthest away from what I know, and I'm going to learn how to see the world anew.
How'd that work for you?
Quite good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Great.
was. I mean, Chinese like. Mandarin is like amazing. It's like the most beautiful language ever. And
I believe you. I don't know it.
Yeah, no, but
So-
it's like, because it's like symbols instead of like words, so it's like very visual. I think it appeals to like a visual artist, and people are interested in the visuals. And it's like drawing lines and like creating these like small symbols. It's really cool. But yeah, so this is gonna take a long time. But when I was there, I applied for like a bachelor in Chinese, and I applied for the Royal Danish Academy of Fine Arts.
Wait, I'm sorry. A bachelor in Chinese.
Yeah.
That would be okay.
Yeah, so I would study Chinese for I'd done a year, and then I would study for 3 more years, because I knew I wanted to be an artist. I thought, but I can do that anyway, because the language here is so interesting, and China and Beijing is interesting, and. But then I also applied for the Royal Danish Academy of Fine Arts, and I got in. And
To the latter.
to both.
Oh, hey, congratulations.
Yeah,
All right.
I don't think the bachelor in Chinese was not that hard to get into. So, but anyways, but yeah. But I chose to go to Denmark because it's a really, really good school, and also my health was suffering a bit from living in Beijing because there's so much pollution and stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a very polluted city.
That's why you know years before the pandemic, you often saw the masks always being worn in that region.
Yeah. It's like some days the government will be like, "Oh, today it's a bad idea to go outside," because if you go outside, you get like sinus problems, and yeah.
Wow.
That's a long story about Beijing and pollution, but it's a really amazing city. Like, yeah. And I was there in 2007, 2008, and it was right before the Olympics. So there was like this whole... It's a lot of problematic stuff, but it was also like this... It was like if you had the UN, but like for like teenagers and like young people, it was like that. It was really, really amazing. I met so many cool people. Like, I got like a friend called Alex Jumbo from Burundi, and... Jeed from Thailand that I lived with, and yeah, just like it was insane. It was so beautiful.
So what were you doing? So you said 1 year of studying Chinese. So that's it, the 1 year?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I went back to Copenhagen, or to Norway, and then Copenhagen, and studied at the Royal Danish Academy of Fine Arts for 6 years. Yeah. And yeah.
And so that puts you at what, 2014?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I lived and worked as an artist in Copenhagen and abroad, and in Norway, and just like traveling around a lot, doing a lot of projects, exhibitions, collective work, all sorts, for like many years. And then I moved to Norway moved back home to Norway 2 years ago-ish.
Pandemic-ish time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was doing a show in Norway, and then the pandemic came like a week before we were starting to install, and I was like, holy shit.
Stuck here.
Yeah, I'm stuck here. But it wasn't even that I was stuck. It was just because I wanted to do this exhibition. And I was like, because I worked on it for a year, and I was like, oh shit. It's all this work and all this energy. You know, when you're getting ready to install, you have built up so much energy. And I was like, I have nowhere to do. Like, I don't know what to do with this energy. But then I landed, and the exhibition happened, and everything was really nice. And I was so happy to be in Norway. And I just decided to stay. Yeah.
All right. So were you doing like residencies or just being a vagabond? Like, what was this traveling around all about?
Both. So like a lot of my practice is about walking in cities, like looking at cities and city structures, and so kind of like a flaneuse. Like not a flaneur, but the flaneuse, the female version of a flaneur.
I'm sorry. I'm looking at you with an inquisitive look on my face because I do not know what that word means.
Flaneur?
Flaneur.
Okay, so I mean it's like...
Sounds French.
It's French, and it's like kind of from the beginning of modernity, this lonely character walking around the city, looking at drifting in the city and looking at how the city is developing in the modernization and kind of...
That sounds like my daily life.
Yeah. So a lot of people do it, and it's like, I think a lot of, people like me and others are like drifting in the cities and having this, there's a whole history to it, but my perspective is just like walking in the city, looking and drifting, and I've been doing that in a lot of, like in Paris, London, Sao Paulo, like
all great cities to do that in, for sure.
Really, and like combining it with residencies or exhibitions. In Vienna, like I did a project on the fountains in Vienna. Like I made a portable shower that you could take with you, and then I made a map of all the fountains you can go and take a shower in, and like with a lot of histories and details to the different places.
Wait, take that back. So did people actually do that? Take showers in these different fountains that was legal to do that in?
No.
Okay.
Because I did it for like an exhibition at Parallel Vienna. A friend of mine who's curator was like invited.
So it was a conceptual.
Yeah, it was conceptual. But people got the map, and the shower was there, so it could be used, but it was still in such a like institutionalized art context that like it never happened like physically. And I could have done the performance myself, but I was only there for 2 weeks.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is like some of these ideas are really great. Like this is really, sort of very interesting. The idea that you could shower in these public fountains and all that. But most people who go to either view it or whatever won't actually do it. Like had I known about that, I would have been like, yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, but yet most people would just like be like, oh, but the concept is really quite compelling and like very intellectually engaging in it instead of like physically engaging in it, because like the experience of showering in a public fountain, that sounds like so much fun.
Yeah. And I think like for me, I like my education in Copenhagen was quite conceptual and like intellectual and like a lot of reading and but I think my work is both. It's both really like intellectual and conceptual, but it's also sometimes it flows into the more practical or like the performative or like the actual physical kind of experience, and I like both. I try to do both. I try to make it come together, and then if you work with public space or you get that chance, it's can be quite exciting.
So it sounds like you've done a lot of like what I would call like applications for things. So like whether it's submitting commissioned, so proposals or grant applications, all these kinds of things. Is that correct? Am I understanding it correctly? Yes
and no. I think I started doing a lot of that, and then, but most of my work or the stuff that I've gotten is applications, and a lot of it's just like friends recommending me or like asking me to be involved in things. Don't get me wrong, I've written a lot of applications and it's part of being an artist, but the way I find that, because my work is kind of weird and multi-layered and kind of can be quite difficult to penetrate, so often it's like friends or people I worked with who tell other people, oh, look at this,
I have almost never met a single artist that goes, my work, easy.
Yeah.
Like everybody goes, oh, it's so complex.
Yeah.
It's this. We all do. I do it.
Yeah.
It's like I'm not pointing fingers at you.
No,
like,
no.
We all do it. It's really fascinating that like almost nobody I know can go, yeah, my work's really simple.
Yeah, look at it. It's like 1-to-1.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes like I think that would be quite nice if it was just like, this is what it is.
But then I think if it would fall into the idea of like decorative art or graphic arts, and it would just be like just a pretty thing. That's the stuff that sort of is like, it is there. Like no layers, no depth.
Yeah. Yeah.
IKEA.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
Nothing. IKEA will already not be a sponsor of this. I've made fun of IKEA art numerous times. So.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's horrible.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. We have Bed Bath & Beyond in America.
But I do love IKEA though, because I grew up with it. I have such a, like, when I lived in Beijing, by the way, when I got really, really homesick, I would go to the biggest IKEA in Beijing. It's the biggest in the world. It's called like Eikaas, which is like the name for IKEA. And I would go and eat sandwiches with shrimps on them, like Scandinavian smørgås bread.
Yeah, most interesting food thing I've experienced since I got here, besides the fact that I had whale for the first time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which was good, great. They did, the chef did a fabulous job. It was very nice. The one that I find most odd, we'll call it, will be the quantity of foods, in particular caviar, that comes in a tube.
Yeah.
You all love your food in a tube.
Yeah, it's weird. But I lived too long in Denmark to accept that. So it's, I don't really eat food from tubes.
Well, it was explained to me that a lot of you all are very outdoorsy and you like going on hikes and do, it could be skiing in the winter, cross-country skiing, or it could be, hiking in summer, whatever. And so like the convenience of putting food into a tube makes perfect sense for that.
Yeah.
But yet you still do it at a dining room table as well.
Yeah. It's kind of weird. I think the weirdest one is like this cheese with bits of shrimp in it.
That sounds disgusting.
Yeah, I know. It's quite good actually, but it's so weird also.
It depends on the cheese, I guess. But yeah, the cheese and
Well, it's a soft cheese, obviously, because it's coming out of a tube.
Basically, Velveeta cheese with shrimp in it. That just sounds wrong.
Yeah,
no.
It's a weird thing.
I found caviar in a tube to be weird.
Yeah. It is kind of weird.
And the brown cheese.
Yeah.
What is...
Have you
ever had the brown cheese?
Yeah, of course. Do you like it?
No.
You need it. Yeah, it can be really delicious if you have it on a waffle, and it's like the waffle is warm, and you put the brown cheese on, and it's like,
I could see where that would be. I mean, it's a very dense, sweet cheese.
Yeah.
And very sort of dairy rich, so it's like very rich.
Yeah.
And I mean, I could see it in small doses being quite lovely, but I believe the piece that was given to me was quite large.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was a bit much.
That sounds like too much. And also there's different variations on it. And I think most Norwegians only eat it like when they're at like a cabin or, like 17th of May. I mean, it's not like I don't think people eat it every day.
Okay, you say 17th of May, like I should know what that means?
It's a national holiday in Norway. It's like a really big thing.
In Norway, which I'm not Norwegian.
No, you should come back for it one time. It's like insane. Everyone's wearing like festive, like traditional costumes and waving flags.
So it's like the American 4th of July.
Yeah, but like weirder.
Weirder?
Yeah, I think. Cooler, weirder. And
I'm sure it's cooler.
Yeah.
The 4th of July in America is horrible. The only thing it is just like people blowing things up with fireworks.
Yeah.
And barbecuing lots of meat.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So then 17th of May is cooler.
Yeah, which I love the barbecuing the meat. But anyways.
Yeah.
So back to the applications and such, because I'm fascinated by it because I'm of a different generation than you. You're younger than me by far. And I was not sort of indoctrinated into the whole sort of like grant application residency stuff. Also, I was in America. It seems like it's been more popular and more common for many decades in Europe to do this kind of stuff. So like, how do you go about doing that? Because I feel like this is something that a lot of people have difficulties with as far as like how to choose the right thing to put the effort and the time into writing an application or a commission or whatever it is for, and then sort of how to craft it to make it so that you get some positive feedback.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I don't if I apply for something, it's because I really, really want it. And I think often that's like, I think you can apply for a lot of stuff and then write a lot of application. I have friends who have like standardized stuff and they just fill in a bit more.
It never works.
I don't do that, so because it never works. And I always feel that if I'm applying for a residency, I think if I write the application just the way like I feel is right for me to present my work and my practice, and I have like, I really want to go there, then if the match is good, they will invite me. And if it's not, they won't. And then it's good that I'm not going. So it's like, you know, I think it's like, it's not just like you trying to get something. It's more like finding like a good combination of like a residency and artists. So the stay there also will be good, because then you will be with people who understand your practice, who are interested in it. You know, I think a lot of people apply for way too many things. And I used to do that, but I stopped because I just figured like it's a lot of energy, so I'm going to use that energy on like working in my studio, working on art, like the actual core of what I'm interested in, and then I will apply for a few things that I think is right for me. Yeah.
Well, along that line, like, and if you don't mind me asking, like, how do you make a living through all of this? So like, do you have other part-time jobs or a full-time job and then do all this on the side, or are you able to, or have you gotten any like the artist stipend funding things from the government?
Ooh. Well, I don't make a living. Like, I live way below the poverty line in Norway, like way below.
Which is still above the poverty line in most other countries in the world. But
Yeah. No, but here you have to pay the rent here. So, and you have to...
I know.
Electricity, food, you know, it's expensive. But sometimes I do teaching. I make a bit of money on that, like teaching art. And I make a bit of money like on this project with Oslo S, a tiny bit. And I have for the first time, I got like a work grant in Norway. The smallest one, but I was blown away. It was so amazing. So that gives me time to work. So I'm working full-time as an artist. Before I had full-time jobs, but then I was also working full-time as an artist, and I was exhausted because that's insane. Because if you work a full week and then you also, it's double up, so that's working 2 full-time jobs. But yeah, I always find a way to make art. So I dedicated my life to it. It sounds really stupid, but I did. Or like it sounds a bit like, oh, I dedicated my life to art, but I have. So I just do whatever I can to work as much as possible with art.
What is it? I don't know anything about the Oslo Norwegian art scene kind of stuff, but like, is it common that a lot of artists aren't like financially stable, let's call it? Or are there a good amount of sort of like working, practicing, well-paid artists?
Oh, that's a good question. I think in Norway, it's probably the place where you have the most like people who have like work grants, who are like bigger than the one I have, and like earn money. But it's still like most of them are still living below the poverty line. And I think then in my age, I'm like 36, and then people start having kids. Then they have to like get a job. So I chose not to have kids, so I don't have to like, do that. So it's more time for the art. No, it sounds horrible to say, but it's the truth. Because I see friends and they're wonderful artists and they're still making art. But I think, it's with everything. You have to prioritize. If you do something, then you have to let go of something else. And it's also about time and money and all that. So I think at my age, people either have like enough success to be able to do both and not have a job, and then a lot of people have to get a job as well. Yeah, or they move to the countryside. Some people do that as well, cheaper living, and yeah.
A reasonable idea, I guess. But
I have to like add something, because I think teaching is also part of an art practice. I think for me, it's not like making a work for a project. That's not like art, my art practice. It's like everything is. like teaching, working together with other people, like all these elements is like
preaching to the choir here. I run a podcast.
Yeah, no, but it's. I think a lot of people need to see that like an art practice is not just exhibiting white spaces, like white cubes.
Okay, there are two points
selling works, you know.
I agree. There are 2 points to what you just said. There's the traditional idea that like people who teach are basically failed artists, which I also hate that whole prospect.
Well, especially within the art scene, because it's like the best artists get the best teaching jobs. You know, that's what in Copenhagen. Here. Okay, but in Copenhagen it was like all the professors we had were international, and they had like big international careers. They were like really like on top of their game.
In America, it's the complete opposite of that.
Yeah, okay.
The big artists who are famous, and they're busy making work, so they don't teach.
Yeah, but here, you know, they did, at least in Copenhagen, they did this thing where you have part of your position is research time. So you actually just teach like 60% and 40% is like research, and then there's, or like 30% is research, and then there's like 10% admin. So they actually have time to work as an artist. And I think that's like the way to solve it, with getting really great artists with a lot of success to come and teach at the academies. It's actually part of their salaries to do research. And work
I'm all for that. I wish everybody else would do that. There's so many things about the way that not just Norway, but Scandinavia in general sort of associates plans, funds, the arts and culture that I think is so amazing. That sort of saddens me that no place else seems to say like, hey, they seem to be doing it right up there. Why don't we copy that? Like, no, everybody doesn't. They just like, oh, if you want that, go to Norway. Yeah.
I think it's also like, it is like that in Scandinavia. There's a lot of things that could be better, definitely here also. And I think it's also a constant fight to keep those good structures in place, because I think depending on like when you say with the shifting governments, you know, if we have a right-wing government, they want to take everything away and commercialize it, and like private funding should cover the culture and arts, you know. So it's like a constant battle to keep what you have, and also at the same time, because it's not good enough here, it also make it better.
I've never heard a single person in the arts go, you know what, we have enough money about any project ever.
No. But that's ambition, and that's good. You need that in artists.
Indeed. Yeah.
Yeah.
So back to this, the work that you're doing now. So like, so what kind of projects are you working on in the future? So because it seems to me like the way you're structuring your career is like, you have one project over here that is sort of coming to completion while you're proposing other projects, and sort of this leapfrogging thing. So that, you know, in theory, if it were all working smoothly, you know, every couple months there would be something sort of coming to completion while you're also having to also work on new proposals and so on and so on. And it's, in some ways it's a great cycle, but in some ways it's a horribly vicious cycle.
Yeah, it's kind of exhausting. I mean, at the moment, we're still doing the Oslo S project, which is continuing the whole year. I'm changing new text, new images, new videos with text and images, and we're putting out cups for people to take. So that's running the whole year. And I just completed like a big public installation, like at Salt down in the city. And I spent a year on that. And it's still up. It's still up for like a few more weeks. And now I'm like... in the process of starting like new research. I don't have like specific, I mean, I'm doing a book project with a publishing house in Copenhagen, like an art book, and we was trying to figure out what that should be. And I'm also going to Paris for like a 5 months residency in December, which is brilliant, you know. So I don't know, it's rolling, but there's never a break. But that's also kind of the life I signed up for. So it is what it is.
Yeah, it's a bit of a difficult thing. Like, I mean, in many ways I complain about this and that part of the arts industry and all this kind of stuff, but like, it's what we signed up for.
Yeah.
You know, like you just got to suck it up.
Yeah. And it's it's the most and biggest privilege also to be able to work with the arts.
It is.
Yeah, and create
absolutely
art.
Totally first world problem to sit here and be like, oh, I have to write a grant. And like, this is so
no,
horrible.
it's real problems, but it's also like a huge privilege. Like you have to sacrifice a few things, and you have to know what you sign up for. Like I would say to anyone who doesn't really want it, don't become an artist. But if you really want it, it's going to be amazing and super hard and fucked up and amazing. Again, so yeah.
Agreed. No,
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it's great and sucks at the same time. But I mean, I think almost anybody can say that about pretty much any job that exists in the world. But the arts it's a little bit more personal. You know, like when I've worked plenty of jobs that I didn't give a shit if they fired me.
Yeah.
But like if somebody like said something negative about something in my art practice,
Yeah.
I would probably take it a lot more personally. And
Yeah.
so like there's a lot more emotional involvement
Yeah.
in this career
Yeah.
that makes it, you know, personally, I've like much higher anxiety now later in my life than I did in the youth, because now I'm like, oh my God, I can't fuck this up. Oh my God, I can't fuck this
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
Whereas in my youth, I was like, whatever, fuck it up.
Okay, yeah. I've never been like that though. I've always been extremely dedicated.
Oh, I'm extremely dedicated.
No, but like,
but I'm extremely afraid.
yeah. But I never had like the casual, like, oh, like even when I was younger, I was just like,
Oh, so you were always
extremely
very serious about
focused and serious.
it.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. No, I was like a
Yeah.
drug addict,
Oh,
you know, all
yeah.
kinds of crazy shit in my
yeah.
youth.
I could have ended up there, but I became like a professional runner when I was a teenager. So I was like even like from I was like 14, I've been like working as professional runner and was paid to do that, you know. So it's like, so I've always been like this extremely focused.
Just to be clear, you said a professional runner.
Yeah,
like
long distance,
long
middle,
distance,
middle long
like
distance. Yeah.
Marathon-y kind
No,
of.
no, middle long distance. It's like from 1,500 meters to like 10K ish. Yeah.
Professional. So like you were.
Yeah, I had like sponsors, and I was on the national running team. I know it's such a weird, I'm sorry, it's just like probably super boring to hear about, but it's just to explain, like for me, I've always been like
Right. No, you
mono-focused.
Yeah, no.
in a
So
way.
you have like that sort of athletic sort of focus of,
Yeah.
of you know, you have a task, you have a goal, you have a deadline. You know, I mean, you have a race, whatever. Like, I mean, it makes sense. Athletes, I would imagine, would be very good at that kind of stuff because it's like military, like very, very regimented, very organized, very methodical.
Yeah.
So I mean, the mindset sounds far better than what my mindset is, because like I came into the arts in this like hippy dippy stoner romantic idea
Yeah.
of like, oh, I'm gonna be like, it's gonna be so much fun, we're all gonna like live together. And don't get me wrong, I lived in those communal homes and did all
Yeah.
that kind of jazz, and that shit just doesn't work.
Yeah. No, I was in this collective, and we were like traveling around. It's called After the Butcher, and we were like for a month in Brussels, living together, having like psychotherapy with each other and making work. It didn't work out very well. And then we went to Wales, and we lived there for a month with like one of the artists was like pregnant, like it was like really, really pregnant, and it was like
Just
crazy.
to be clear, nothing against being pregnant, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, no, but we were like 10 people living in a small house, and she was pregnant, and it was like, it was amazing. It was such a beautiful moment, but it was also insane, and also because we were trying to do like psychotherapy on each other, and that's like, it was about like collective healing and stuff. But it was,
Yeah, I think we all go through that phase in
Yeah.
our artistic careers.
Yeah.
So, okay, but you brought up also with like sort of working collaboratively. So is this something that you do frequently?
I mean, I worked in different collectives over the years, on and off. And I also usually, like when I do my own projects or have a solo exhibition or whatever, I usually invite people in either to write, because I have a tendency to always make publications when I do a project, because there's so much research. So I always make like a book.
Love it how you're like, yeah, I tend to just publish a book. Like, what?
Yeah, like a small artist book. And then I always get people to write, or I invite them to come and do a performance, or to be part of the conversation with their work or with a text or with whatever, because I'm quite interested in, like when I work with the subjects, like the last one I worked with now at Salt is like queer pirates. So I've been like talking to this American professor called Marcus Radica, who's like brilliant. He written like loads of books on pirates and the Atlantic, and then I also had several friends writing text, and there was like a lot of conversations around that. Yeah, so it's
you must elaborate on that. Queer pirates.
Yeah, it's a thing. It's historically a
no
real thing.
doubt. A bunch of men on a boat, like
also women. There was also women. Like here, I made two
See, when
sculptures.
I think of pirates, I would not imagine women.
Oh yes, there were women also.
Oh no, I know there were, but I would still imagine the majority of the boat would be men.
Yeah.
That's it.
Working class men and slaves and like all sorts of people coming together and rebelling.
Oh, and the idea of them being queer, absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean, they're out for months, if not years. Like, yeah, sure, why not?
But also they had the first written document to allow a kind of same-sex civil agreement, like something called matelotage, which is like that two men would be partners, and then if one died, the other would inherit and stuff like that. So
that was a pirate agreement.
Yes, they had it written down in their like pirate laws. Yeah.
First of all, there are pirate laws.
Yeah, it was like one of the first like democratic organizations. Like it was everyone shared everything, and everyone had the power to vote. So if the captain was not pleasing the crew, they could just fire him or like throw him overboard or whatever. So it was actually there's so many things we can learn from pirates, and also the queer element that I've been working on is part of it. And that was that's the installation I did down at Salt. It's like a queer pirate ship. And there's like actually two female pirates who are quite famous, and I think Pirates of the Caribbean, what's that called, like franchise? I think they're gonna do like a film about it soon. It's called Anne Bonny and Mary Read, and they were lovers.
Because they're having to replace Johnny Depp.
Yeah. So they're just doing this. Yeah, I mean it's in the time also to be like female empowerment and queerness, but it's a lot of really exciting stuff. Like the more I read about it and researched it, the more interesting it was. I even got myself
for the viewers, she has a Jolly Roger skull and crossbones tattooed on her left forearm.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're all into the pirate, queer pirate.
Queer pirates.
I was going to say lesbian pirate, but yeah.
But also this is like, so the one book that I based a lot of my research on is called Villains of All Nations by Marcus Radica. So what this represent was the pirate flag, right? The Jolly Roger. And like at sea, the national states, they would flag, and I mean the flags as a symbol at sea is like so important. And then they made their own flag that was like kind of joking about death and also being like scary at the same time. And they were like unite under this, like, and they would call themselves Villains of All Nations. So they were kind of breaking with the international trade. They were kind of like going against national state and like creating this. Yeah.
Wait, did they actually call themselves Villains of No Nation?
Of All Nations.
Of All Nations?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
No, there's so many. I think. I love that pirates are part of the popular culture and imagination, and that's also super interesting. But I think if you start reading about the actual pirates, there are like so many layers to it. That's insanely interesting, and they were so radical in their organization and. The communities they created.
Sure, the stories we know are stories.
Yeah.
And they are romanticized and idealized and all kinds of stuff. And they are nothing about the reality of any of the lives of the pirates. Quite honestly, they probably should even revisit using the word pirate.
Yeah. There's it's language change, words change, and
there's nobody in the pirate army to say, hey, change our name.
Yeah,
because there aren't any pirates anymore, really, and they're not or they're not organized. There are still pirates, but they're not organized in the way they used to be.
There has always been pirates, and there will always be pirates. But I think
there's always been burglars and drug dealers.
But you can't compare them. Pirates, it was different. I mean, I was looking at this period from the 1600s to the late 1700s, which is like the golden age of pirates. And they were like, because this is when
I just love that they have a golden age.
Yeah, many.
Did they have a silver and a bronze age as well?
Probably. I just don't know about it yet. I'm still researching. It's still a lot to learn. Yeah.
All right. Well, now, when you talked at one point saying that your projects would like take like a year to work on, kind of stuff, like how long on average does a project for you take from like I wouldn't say from like idea, because like you might have the idea and then you won't get around to proposing it to somebody for like 2 or 3 years or 5 years before then you start working on it. But like, so like when it comes to actually like ready to like produce something, how long do your projects take?
But I mean, I think a year is brilliant if you're doing a big solo exhibition or installation. But it has to be said that like I have all these strands of research that I work on constantly. I've been doing for years. And then if people ask me to do something, I will look at, okay, so I would work quite site specific. And then I would like propose something that is connected to those strands of research that I'm interested in. And then I would create an exhibition or a project from that. And a year is like, for me, that's the perfect amount of time. I mean, it's not always like that. So if I could do like one exhibition or project a year, that would be brilliant.
Do you have any advice from your experiences? I mean, because you're very much in the thick of sort of being a practicing artist. So anything you could, from your experiences, bad experiences, mistakes, anything like that you could sort of give out to the listeners about either things to do or things maybe to stay away from doing?
Yeah, I mean, I think the only advice I could give is just to work on your own practice, do what you like, do what you're good at, and don't look so much to others. I mean, it's just like, because there's a lot of things you can't control, so it's just about like working on your own stuff and then trying to do that the best you can. And then, I mean, you have to dedicate all your time and money to it. That's the way to go. I mean, there's a lot of, because there's so much things you can't control, and a lot of things are just by accidents or chance and luck. But
and you can't be a half-assed artist. Like, it's either you're all in or you're all out.
Yeah, that's it.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Cool.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Lovely.
To wrap this up, I'd like to thank you for listening all the way to the end of the conversation. We would appreciate it if you would share the podcast with your friends, family, coworkers, studio mates, or anybody with an interest in arts and creative endeavors. The building and strengthening of the arts and creative community is at the core of our mission for this podcast. They can listen and subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. We are produced by 5014. The audio was edited by CushAudio Services, and the music was created by Pete Bybee. The Wise Fool Art Podcast is supported in part by an EEA grant from Iceland, Liechtenstein, and Norway in an effort to work together for a green, competitive, and inclusive Europe. We would also like to thank our partners Hunt Kastner in Prague, Czech Republic, and Kunstsentrene i Norge in Norway. Links to EEA grants and our partner organizations are available in the show notes or on our website, wisefoolpod.com.